Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me okay? Let me know if you are not able to hear me. I'm trying this different format. I might still come on camera, but y'all, you know, I didn't do the whole like makeup thing. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna try to like make things up. I was at home chilling the whole time. I could have done it. And I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't like I had this whole look for y'all. I have this whole like I went to the hair store. Okay. I went to the hair store and everything. I was like, man, this is gonna be a good look for the live. And I wanted to do it today. And I didn't. I didn't do it. I was just sitting there, laying there, you know, too lazy to move, listening to the Dusty Diddy case, which is what we're going to be talking about today. Let me see, y'all. Let me see. So I'm getting better with making those intros. Don't judge me. They will get better over time. Okay. Like I always say, y'all know I be taking my time with these. With just about everything and anything. I'm like always taking my time with it. Let me see. What is this? That's better, right? All right. So you guys, we're going to talk about the Dusty Diddy case, and we're probably going to go live at least 1 or 2 more times this week. You know why? Because I really want to cover the Wizard Liz part 2, because that situation was also insane. Hi, the ex-patriarchy princess. Thanks for joining. I love that name, the ex-patriarchy princess. Hi, Miss Markin. Thanks for joining. All right, y'all. So let me see. Let me go ahead and share my screen and take off this work call. That's why we're starting a little bit behind, because I was on a work call. That went a little bit over. So let me share my screen, y'all. Let me share my screen. I'm so happy I finally made that intro. Y'all, I've been thinking about making that intro for the longest time. Sometimes I don't even know how I survive waiting so long to do stuff. Like, how did you even make it to this point? Yo, how did you, like, I'd be wondering, like, girl, how'd you make it here? Okay, let me see, y'all. Let me change this. And then we will take a look at this craziness. I missed you guys. You know, I'm getting used to doing these lives more and more. You know, because I'm an INFJ. I'm an INFJ 51%. I'm an INTJ. Imagine two of the most introverted personality types. I am both 49%. So it's something that I always have to kind of like get used to. You know what I mean? Hold on, y'all. What's going on here? All right. So we're going to take a look. This is going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. Who has been keeping up with the Dusty Diddy case, with the Diddler case? I did a poll where I asked y'all, let me see what the results of the poll is. I'm just doing my little intro. I love these intros. They're like the best part. I get to like ADHD in peace for the most part. I get to just say like any updates that I want. I'm like, this is like the best. This is the best thing ever. So let me see what y'all said in the poll that I put in, because I'm obsessed with polls. I'm always putting out a poll everywhere. You haven't been keeping up with the ex-patriarchy princess. You haven't been keeping up with the Dusty Diddy case. So we're gonna do an update right now for y'all that haven't been keeping up. But we're gonna link it, as I love to do. We're gonna link it with the patriarchy, because these dudes right here, these thanks rapists deserve. I just saw your comment on the poll. I love that. I believe women is what she says. She says, I believe women, period. Oh, 95% of you believe that Dusty Diddler is completely guilty. Yeah, it's been a lot going on. Exactly. I agree. Thank you, Miss Markin. I appreciate it. So 95% of you believe that Dusty Diddy is guilty. That's good. that means my subscribers is made up of the right types of followers. That's what that means right there, because I'm always looking. I'm like, what are they going to say today? Are they going to cause me to have a Gemini meltdown today on my community section based off of what they respond to on this poll? Or are we going to be synced up? And we're synced up. You know, Dusty Diddy is one of the biggest. Diddy, thanks for joining, Diddy. I believe so too. But y'all, there's something that I'm concerned about with this case. Okay, there's really something that's very, very concerning to me with this case. And we're going to go through it. We're going to see what that is. Let's use this profile right here. I don't even think I need the profiles, but we'll use this one. So we're going to see what that is. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We'll go through this video first. One of the things that I feel like is kind of sad with this case, I will admit, is the amount of women that I've seen. The amount of women that I've seen try to defend the male species. Did y'all hear about the fact that I think it was it on today's what? Thursday? Today's Wednesday. I think this happened on Monday, y'all. There was a lady. Hi, Art of Aries. Thanks for joining. We're just getting started. I'm doing my little intro because that's my favorite part. And we're going to get into this case and tie that back into the lovely patriarchy, right? Because they just love to show us the truth. They love to show it to us right in front of our faces. And if we don't stop to process through what they're trying to tell us in their patriarchy, then we just lose ourselves in their patriarchy. And it ends, it's so scary. You know what I was thinking about today? How scary it is. Lies on top of lies on top of lies. That's what the patriarchy is built off of. Lies on top of lies on top of lies. It's so hard to believe. Every little thing, even from the time where you come here out of the womb, right? With all their little toys, all their little Barbies, all their little shows, all their little cartoons, lies on top of lies on top of lies. And I sat there processing through this and I said, I can't believe this. Comparing it to the truth, the truth of what males actually are, it's actually surreal to me. I don't understand how a species could build such an intricate lie. It is amazing. So let me see. Let me copy paste this because I'm going to go ahead and just use a regular window. I don't think I need to overdo this here. All right, perfect. So I'll let y'all use my account so we can do ads free because they always get on my nerves with their stupid ads on YouTube. Okay, let me see here. 1 second. Let me share my window. All right. We're getting started here. All right. So it's lies upon lies upon lies. So we're going to take a look. We're just going to dive in and talk about Dusty Diddy. Now, like I was saying before, on Monday, I believe this happened on Monday, there was a woman that actually got into the courts while the trial was going on. I believe she had a Free Diddy shirt on, right? And she started yelling in the middle of the courts, Free Diddy, they're trying to tarnish your legacy. They're trying to destroy your legacy. They're trying to destroy what you've built. She started screaming all of these things in the middle of the court. And they had to walk her out. I think a lot of these people, Dusty Diddy might have, in my opinion, hired, I feel like his marketing team is probably working double time, okay? But at the same time, it wouldn't be hard for me to believe that that was true and that was real. It wouldn't be hard for me to believe that, yes, actually, there are women here because I see it in the comments section as well. There are women here that support Dusty Diddy. There are women here on this planet, which is unbelievable to me, that say things like, Well, it's just a domestic violence case. It's just the domestic violence case. So why does it matter? It's just domestic violence. So who cares, right? And when I hear that, it's even crazier to me because it tells us where they see women on their hierarchy, on their scale. They could care less about women. They literally don't give a crap. You know what I'm saying? Like they literally do not care. We are not even on their radar. This case is showing me even more that they don't even believe that women are human beings. They don't even believe that women are humans. They don't believe it. There's no way that they believe it. So it's showing me more and more the truth about the male species, because when you are able to make the argument that, well, it's nothing but domestic violence, and that means you get off the hook because in this patriarchy, within their own hierarchy, domestic violence is seen as less egregious than anything and everything else. You putting your hands on women is seen as less egregious than anything and everything else. So I'd much rather get in trouble for that than any of these other things that you're talking about, because domestic violence I can get away with. That's basically the message, right? And it's so then you start processing through it and you start understanding even more that, look, these males don't care, right? They'll put their hands on you because they feel like there's not even that much of a consequence to doing such a thing, right? So we're going to take a look at some updates, but we're going to talk about it as we go along, because this to me is more than just like, it's not really about just this case. To me, this shows us where we are as a society, where we are within this patriarchy, and it shows us how males think within this patriarchy, within the society. We keep repeating it over and over and over again, and there will still be women out here fighting against other women. I had to, like, in the there was a comment, there was a woman, I think it was like a few days ago, and she was trying to fight me and saying, I just don't, oh, that's what it was. It was like a post. It was one of those posts where they had the male dressed as like a princess, because, you know, the males are weak. In reality, this is the reality of males. A lot of women think males just became weak today. No, the males have always been weak. They've always been like lazy. They've never been anything other than weak and lazy, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. The problem is that the patriarchy has been lying to you this whole time. So now it's an issue. There's a dissonance between the reality and the lies that you've been fed by the patriarchy. The patriarchy told you that they were protectors. The patriarchy told you that they were providers. It's a lie. Okay. This is one of the main things that women struggle to accept. Okay. That, look, they lied. Women are the protectors. Women are the providers. The males cannot protect. The males cannot provide. Okay. Most of them, they tell you to their face, they don't want to pay for any of your crap. They don't want to pay for you to just live in peace and be happy. Most of them get mad when you start laughing, you start having a good time, you start enjoying your life. They literally get mad about that. And they will do everything that they can to pull you right back down. Okay. That's just how the males are. That's how they function. That's how they operate. Right. So the problem is not that this is something new. This is not anything new. The males have always been this way. The problem is you have a lot of women here fighting against themselves because they don't want to believe it. And a lot of creepy women that do, you know what, y'all? I was thinking about this earlier this week too, and I got the cringe, like the shivers in my bones, in my body, whenever I started thinking about some of these mothers, or a lot of these mothers, the way that they treat their kids, is so like, not kids, sorry, males. particularly specifically males, the boy moms, is so like, it's just gives incest vibes. It creeps me out. I'm sorry. I know that's probably not politically correct to say, but it just creeps me out, y'all. Like, I think I was watching a video or something and she was just like babying this male. I mean, by the time the males are 12 years old, they're pretty much full on grown adults at 12. They're not women. And she was like babying this male and like, oh, well, how is he going to do this without me there? How is he going to do that? It's just creepy, y'all. I don't know. It creeps me out. I know that might not be politically correct, but I don't know. It creeps me out. When I think about it, I feel like this is a big part of the problem as well. But I digress. We see males, the way that they view women as objects. In this Diddy case, one of the things that also stands out to me is the fact that I believe, from what I'm seeing, that Diddy is literally living vicariously through these women. I believe that Diddy wants to be a woman. That's it. Point blank, period. Diddy wants to be a woman, but he can't be a woman no matter what he does. It doesn't matter how much makeup you put on. It doesn't matter what type of clothes you wear. It doesn't matter what type of surgeries you do. You're not a woman. That's point blank, period. You can't be one, right? So the closest he can get to that feeling is by using the woman as a vessel. Okay. And I think that's a lot of what's happening here is, Dusty Diddy, the diddler, really has a lot of resentment built towards women because he can't be a woman, even though he would really like to feel what it feels like to be a woman. That's where a lot of these, I hate to say this, but I feel like that's also a lot of where the, in the gay males that dress like women and think that's the end of it. All I have to do is dress like a woman and then I'm a woman, It does, but they know that that's not gonna work. You can't be a woman just because of that. Right. So when a male, I say this all the time, even before the Diddy case came out, I was like, look, if he puts hands on you, he's probably homo, right? Okay. Well, here we are with the Dusty Diddy case. He's putting hands on every woman he can get his hands on, right? So exactly, Diddy, it's jealousy. The males are jealous, right? Let me see here. Yes, I believe so as well. Women need more unity and we need to stay on code like males do, no matter the situation. Always look for a reason why women are right. Exactly. And the way I think one of the biggest ways we probably will get there is like we're not able to accept pygmishas anymore. Like if I run into a pygmisha in the comments section, I usually have a lot of patience when it comes to I have a lot more patience, I'll say, when it comes to women, even the misguided women. But it's not that much more, but it's a lot more than I give to males, right? But when they say things that are unhinged, I just let them know, like, look, that's unhinged. That's an unhinged way of thinking. And if they say enough to where they start sounding like males, because a lot of these women will sound and speak just like a male species would speak, I just treat them like a male. Some of them I have to tell them, like, look, ma'am, you're a male. Okay, I need you to not speak to me because I don't really speak to males really in any capacity, and so they get treated like a male. If you're going to think like a male, you're going to get treated like a male. That's all I can do for you. Okay. So a lot of times that's how I also handle that, just because it's like, when you start saying things like, it's just domestic violence, it's not that bad, I don't see how the case has been proven. Well, the case has been proven. I feel like this case has been proven at least 2 weeks ago. We've proved this case. The government has already proved this case at least 2 weeks ago, because there's so much proof out here that there's no way. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's see what's going on. We're gonna like touch on the Diddy case, see what's been happening, see where we're at. We're even gonna see interviews from Tisa Tells. I really like her journalism, her work. But we're gonna see just a few minutes where she did interviews with the males. She was standing outside of the court and she interviewed the males, and we're gonna see what those males had to say, so that it's not just me just like, oh, I'm the one that's just saying stuff. No, like this is literally the males will tell you themselves. The males will literally tell you themselves, you know? So let's go ahead and dive right in and we'll see what we've got going on here.
Now for what's tipping the scales in the case against Sean Diddy Combs. For the first time, we're hearing the cross of alleged victim Jane. Jane dated Diddy from 2021 to 2024, revealed that while she still loves him, she resents him for leading her into the freak-off lifestyle through what she calls emotional manipulation. Our cameras aren't allowed in federal court, but through the use of AI technology, we're taking you inside. Let's listen. You spoke on direct examination about regret, right? Yes. Because you regret a lot of the choices that you made in your 3.5 years of a relationship with him, right? I would say that I resent him for leading me into the lifestyle that he led me to. And you chose to participate in that lifestyle for many years, right? I would say that my choices were made under a lot of emotional pressure due to my relationship. Because you were in a relationship with him, right?
Okay, y'all. So what we're talking about here is the current the current person that's testifying. Okay, this is the lady that's testifying. Her name is not actually Jane, but they're hiding. They want to keep her identity private. So the name that she's going by is Jane. And this is parts of what we'll be looking at, is parts of her testimony today. Okay, leading up to love letters. Apparently, Dusty Diddy was writing love letters to Cassie while they were together. The whole situation is very, very strange. So we're going to take a look at that. But that's what's happening here. Is she's testifying and she's being questioned by the defense. So the defense is Dusty Diddy's side. They're lawyers. This is who's questioning her at this point. A few days ago, she was being kind of questioned by the government, and the government was laying down their case for calling in this witness. This witness was called in by the government. They made her testify. A lot of the people that testified, if not all, probably all of the people that have been testifying in this case, it's not because they want to be there. They're not testifying because they want to. They're testifying because they have to. If you listen to all the testimonies, all of them were a part of this case. They're all basically, criminals, right? They could be taken to jail. So in order to get them to testify, they get a deal. If you don't want to go to jail, the government will let you off the hook as long as you testify in this case. So that's what we're seeing here right now with this particular lady that's going by the name of Jane, because her identity is hidden for privacy purposes. All right. So that's what we're hearing the back and forth on right now.
Yes. And you wanted to stay in that relationship? Yes. You loved him very much? Yes. And you did not want to break up? No. And at times he would say, okay, we could just break up, right? He would say that, but his actions proved otherwise. He would say to you, we could just break up, right? He has said those things. Yes. And then you did not want to break up with him, right? No. There were several times that you didn't talk to him for a few weeks or even a few months, but ultimately you did not want to break up with him? Of course not. And so you feel resentful at this time that you had sex with other men for a long time in your relationship with him, right? Yes, I resented the way that he went about introducing me to this lifestyle. Was built under a lot of emotional manipulation and pressure. Yes.
They're trying to get her to admit that she's a cheater, They're trying to make her look like a 304. That's where all these questions are coming from, telling her, oh, well, so you admit that you were sleeping with anyone and everyone during the course of your relationship, right? So they're trying to make her look like a 304, basically. Meanwhile, you have the diddler who was sleeping with both males and females, who's a complete homo, right? Sleeping with both males and females, putting hands on women all over the place, complete degenerate, accusing women of being 304s. This is one of the things about this cases that's insane to me, completely wild, is the audacity of the male species. The audacity of the male species knows no bounds. It knows no bounds. There are no limitations on that audacity. Okay. The audacity to sit here, and I've seen it in other YouTube videos as well, where the males are sitting here calling women 304s. Oh, she was a 304. Oh, this one that took the stand, she was a 304. She was sleeping with everything, anything and everything. Meanwhile, Diddy was being bent over by other males the whole time. He was literally sleeping with other males the whole time, y'all. Women, other males, anything and everything, which is not shocking because they'll sleep with turkeys as well, right? It's insane to me.
I do resent that about our relationship very much. Because you wanted to just be in a relationship with him for 3.5 years? No, because I was already so hooked from the beginning. I fell in love with somebody who I didn't understand, like the terms and conditions of what our relationship would be like. And so once I was hooked into that and I fell in love, but my emotions were in play. So it was many, many blurred lines of love and affection mixed with emotional pressure to perform these things that my lover really desired. And so I wanted to fulfill my duties as a good girlfriend. And because you wanted to be a really good girlfriend and partner, you use the word partner over and over again. Yes. 51.
She was getting on my nerves with that, because you see a lot of women do that, and they'll use the word partner. When she was testifying, she kept using the word partner. My partner this, my partner that. Still delusional, still delusional. And this is one of the things that divides women the most is, well, let's be honest, money. Right? It's money. But the thing about that argument, because you'll hear a lot of males within the patriarchy try to make the argument for Dusty Diddy that she just wanted the money, so it was her choice to stay because of the money. That's the argument. I could see your argument. I could see where you're coming from when it comes to that. However, it's like, let's at least try to pretend like we have brain cells, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, that's not an excuse for breaking the law. Just because she wanted to stay, if she's greedy, if she's a 304, what does that have to do with the fact that, look, the male that you're defending is a criminal? Allegedly. That has nothing to, one of the things has nothing to do with the other. That's what's always confused me. It's like, what does that have to do with the criminal that you're defending? We're not even tapping into the psychology of the whole thing. Just on the surface level, people in this patriarchy will bend over backwards just to protect the male species. One of the things that worries me the most about this case is that apparently at least 60 to 70% of the jurors in this case are male. So the ones that will be deciding whether or not this guy is guilty, they're males, y'all. They're males in there. I think that he's he's guilty 100%, because I feel like, look, the government proved their case like 2 weeks ago. I don't even know what we're doing at this point. This is just for show, right? Like 2 weeks ago, I remember the exact moment when I thought to myself, that's it, it's done. That's it. They've done it. They've already proved it, right? So I think he's full on guilty. But what I'm thinking is the jury, because it's made up of 60 to 70% males, there's a good chance that the bros are going to try to let their bro free. There's a good chance, I'm not saying that they are, but I feel like there's just a super heightened chance that the bros are going to try to let their bro go free. Yep. So most of the jury, y'all, is made up of males. 60 to 70% of them. There's like literally barely, there's no women over there. Okay. Most of the bros is made up of males. Let's listen to this. We'll come back to this video. Let me see. Let me make a note because I want us to listen to the interviews, some interviews that took place with the bros. So y'all can see why this is not good news whatsoever. And then y'all can also see why this is directly and how it's directly tied to this patriarchy and why males cannot change. They are what they are. They are what they are. If they could change, they would have done it a long time ago. They've had decades upon centuries to become better people. And yet they still haven't been able to do it, right? So let's take a look at this because I was going to save this for like the ending, but I think this is a really good point. This is a really good part to insert it, you know? And so we have a problem here. We have a problem here because most of that jury is made up of males, and this is how males think, right? Let's take a look here. And we'll come back to that other one.
Nights with Good Logic. Yeah. Hold on a second. Let's see if we can get you in if they can hear. Yes. What's your take on this?
You're not going to be happy with me.
Okay.
You're not going to be happy with me.
All right, let's go. I'm not. He's going to say something pro Diddy, but go on.
I'm not going to say something pro Diddy.
Okay.
What I'm going to say is this. I crystallize a lot more, and the people I'm sitting around in the alternative jury room, which I call the viewing room, a lot of them crystallized. Where I'm at on Jane is she helped convince me that Cassie was trafficked, but that she was not. And I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
I'll explain to you the logic behind why it is that after today, I've been convinced, and I believe Jane. I believe her story. I believe pretty much everything she said. There's very few things that she said that I don't believe, okay? I trust this woman. I just think what she's describing is not...
It pisses me off when males do that. They really think, man, women are so stupid. You know, so males use words because they know that women attach to words. I believe her. I believe this woman. She's so great. She's so awesome. And 99.99% of males do this. Okay. But wait to hear what he has to say and tell me if that sounds like someone that actually believes her or not. Males, this is one of their number one predatory tactics, right? They'll use all these. It pisses me off because it's so insincere and degenerate. It's like, how degenerate you have to be to like be so like, oh my God. Not that this guy is, because he's trying to present counter arguments. I just mean males in general. It's so annoying when they do that gaslighting thing. So annoying.
Really trafficking. And you can see a big difference, and you'll agree with me this, that Cassie's treatment, and this is not to say that Diddy's not a monster. He treated her like dog crap. He was terrible to that woman. I feel awful for what he did to her. I just don't think it's trafficking because she described today, she did a synopsis of what her relationship with Diddy was. She said, we have a hotel night, which is those crazy freakos that she says she hates, and I believe she hated them. Okay, the defense wants to think she didn't hate him. I think she hated them. Okay, she would have this awful thing that she would do to please my lover, please my partner, which is the language she uses all the time. Then a day later, 2 days later, he'd see her off on some trip or buying some present for some other girlfriend, and she'd get angry. And then she would say to him, and then she would express that anger, and then he'd be like, well, if you don't like it, leave. And she'd leave, and then his people would call and pass to her, and she would come on back.
Counselor.
Am I talking too long?
No. Counselor, if I could just interject.
So you see how he's saying it's her fault because she's the one that kept coming back. She would get beat the whole time and then still come back anyways, regardless. After saying oh, I believe her. Dusty Diddy is a monster, this and that. But, you know, it's still her fault because she's the one that kept coming back. She's the one that, you know, even though she was getting cheated on, she kept coming back. Meanwhile, y'all, if I don't know if these males are being so for real, if they just don't have a brain, or I'm trying to understand what that has to do with the fact that this guy is literally on trial for racketeering. They're trying to make it a case about whether or not, you know, the woman was a 304. That's basically what he's trying to say, right? Or a gold digger, right? That's basically what he's trying to say. Or it was her fault. Meanwhile, their own species is on trial for racketeering, y'all. Basically on trial for putting up a whole criminal organization. That's what that means. Like literally, he formed the whole criminal organization, right? That's what this guy's on trial for. And this guy is more focused on whether or not she's a 304 and a gold digger. This is what, I mean, this is how the males, I guess this is how they process through information. And so this combined with the fact that 60 to 70% of the jury is males, Houston, we have a problem here.
We're going to need a timeline on this because all good stories need a timeline. And she is talking about the first 2 years of the relationship. They were actually the first year of the relationship. We're still in 2021. We haven't gotten into 2022 and we haven't gotten into 2023.
Well,
so when you're saying
2023, today,
no, they jumped into 23 and then they jumped out of it.
I don't know.
They jumped in
different free calls. We heard all about the Valentine's Day of 2022, Valentine's Day 2023, how different they were from each other. So we were getting some stuff from what happened over the last couple of years, and she was describing that basically she would walk, and then he would pester her, and she'd get phone calls and.
But how are you looking over? Literally the violence that occurred and when he forced her to take the thing. So it's like you're saying all this stuff, but we just had.
I thought about that. Trust me. I thought and that was the one day that I sort of wanted to look at, right?
Yeah.
But I need to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt.
So you think that a woman was.
He's like, I thought about that, but I need to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. Yo, I keep trying to tell you the males don't give a crap. They don't care about women and they don't care about children. Okay. They're always going to try to save their bros. It does not matter to them. They do not care. She was like, well, how are you just looking at that, trying to say that it's her fault and ignoring the fact that the diddler was beating these women to the ground, was giving them and feeding them drugs. Every time they had to do one of those freak-offs, weirdo events that they were doing, he would have those women use drugs to do it. Now, you tell me how it's possible for an individual who's intoxicated, who's on drugs, to give consent. How is that possible? How is the individual who's on drugs going to give you consent? But does this guy view it in this way? Do the males view it in this way? No. No, he's like, no, I just have to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. So the fact that we have this guy on video beating the women to the ground. Cassie was trying to leave. She was trying to run away from this guy. This guy came out of wherever he was at just to beat her to the ground and drag her right back into that room. We have that. The fact that we have this new lady's testimony detailing, because here she detailed while she was speaking and answering these questions. She went into detail about how she ran to, like, she was living in this big, she lives in this really big house, right? They got into a physical altercation. They got into a fight. She ran out of her house and had to hide in like the woods somewhere because the house is so big. It has like a lot of like backyard space and all this stuff. She had to hide there, and she hid there for 2 hours, hoping that this guy would leave. And then she walked back into her house, and guess what? Dusty Diddy was still there waiting for her. And guess what he did when she walked back into the house? He beat her to a pulp, y'all. Beat her to the ground. But then you have this guy saying, well, you know, she just this and that and that and that. You know, it's insane.
Getting trains ran on her that were so painful
She hated
that she was running. And you think that she was doing that for a relationship and $10,000 a month?
I think
Constantly to the point of throwing up.
She loves him today? Even to
What's
this
that?
day, do you think she still loves him?
I believe she still loves him, but just from a woman and controlling and having. You think that a woman?
He's a horrible person.
You think no, it's not a horrible person. You think a woman was choosing to sleep with prostitutes without protection on her body, getting horrible UTIs, getting beat up, and getting trains ran on her so bad that she couldn't even recover. You think that she's doing that because of love, or do you think it's something more?
I think it was out of love.
I think it's sex trafficking.
I think this part is critical. She said, do you think a woman would do all that just because of love? Or do you think that there's probably more to it than that, such as trafficking, especially with all the drugs, such as coercion, right? And he goes, oh, I think it was out of love. God, I'm telling y'all, like, the males are degenerate. Y'all, this is insane to me. Oh, I think it was out of love. They don't see women as human beings. That's why. They don't see women as having any self-respect, anything that's worth respecting. They don't see women as anything. That's what that response tells me. Oh, I think she just did it out of love. Where the males, we deserve unlimited love no matter what. So, of course, that's why she did it, because she wanted our love. Of course, that's the only reason, because she wanted our love. I mean, the males are insane. I couldn't even believe, when I was watching this, I was like, what? Is this real right now? Insane.
Love?
She said it's out of love.
Okay, but most
partners. That's what
okay, but when you talk to most prostitutes, and when you talk to most victims of sex trafficking, they are in love with the person.
Okay.
They think they're helping their boyfriend. They think they're helping their pimp. They think that the pimp protects them, and they're the ones that the only way to get bills. He got a bad leg. He got a bad back. He can't go to work. I just know as a woman, there is no way that you have me sleeping with escorts, and they are brutalizing me to the point I'm throwing up with no protection.
Terrible.
And also,
yes. Because that's why I tell ladies, like, look, grow a brain, right? She wanted to save him, y'all. So the witness that's testifying right now wanted to save Dusty Diddy. So she told Dusty Diddy, like, you know, you should get off the drugs. You should try to be sober. So Dusty Diddy took that as, like, he took advantage of that, right? He was like, oh, okay, sure. Let's try to do one of our freak offs sober. Let's try to do one of our, you know, sescapades sober and see how it goes. You think that male was doing that because he actually wanted to be sober? He was playing in her face, obviously, right? So they did it sober. And there was like 3 other males involved that she was like trying to sleep with and stuff, sober, make these, I don't know if they were making videos. I believe that Dusty Diddy was taping these things, and the higher ups, because why everyone is focused on Dusty Diddy and no one's focusing on who Dusty Diddy actually works for. There are people stronger than this guy that were probably sitting there watching on camera. I think he was taping the whole thing live, probably having live shows where the higher ups were watching this whole thing. But no one's talking about that part, right? So it's like, so she was, you know, trying to do it while sober, while not intoxicated. She tried it one time, and she said that she threw up in the middle. She literally threw up, like she literally gave up and especially because she threw up in the middle of trying to do this whole like sexcapade thing or whatever. It was insane, y'all.
Keep thinking of that $10,000 a month. I don't think it's a price you can get me to sleep with a hooker.
$10,000 a month is nothing.
But this is my whole point. The fact that you think that a woman in a relationship for love will put herself in danger. Maybe it might be a divide between women and men. Maybe men. I don't know.
I don't know if you could even call it love, though. Tisa, think about this. This is a woman who 2 days after he physically was choking her and beating her, went back to him because saying on the stand, she said, because I missed him too much.
Yeah, but what do you think? It's not a healthy type of love. But again,
so
does love? No, I don't. Does love excuse domestic violence? If the person, okay, so if love doesn't excuse domestic violence, then why would it excuse this? You keep saying because she's in love. My thing is, you're like, she's in love, period. My thing is, she's in love, but so what? Yes.
This is what I've been saying. It's like, I don't understand. What's their point in saying like, oh, she's in love. So what's your point? That she should be getting beat down every day, that she should be, even if she's okay with it, how can you sit there and have little to no empathy to the point where you're like, oh, well, she kept going. No empathy, no reason, no nothing, y'all. This is what the male species bring. This is what they bring.
Covers all of it. However, what you did was illegal, and it doesn't matter whether the person loved you or not. It actually makes it sicker that they loved you.
Let me ask you this: what part of it? Because I look at it as a lawyer, I look at the elements of the crime. Okay, so he has to know he's forcing her against her will.
She already knows that.
Oh my God, the males! I'm telling y'all, I wouldn't be surprised if Diddy gets off. This whole case, I've been following this whole case and listening to it, relaxing while listening to it and stuff like that. And by the way, like at first, when I first started listening to the case, I was listening to 4 women and 1 male, because the one male, I thought he was kind of funny. Within a week, I dropped the male. I had to drop him. I had to drop the male. It's insane because of the stuff that was coming out of his mouth, y'all. He was like, yo, it's her fault. He was, had his whole chat turned against women. His whole chat was chanting 304 this, 304 that. I was like, I can't do this. It's ruining my peace. Imagine me chilling, relaxing, trying to listen to the case and stuff, and you're harassing me, who's a woman, because you're talking about all women here, talking about 304 this, 304 that, 304 that. I had to drop him. Every time I try to give males a chance to speak their case, can't do it. Can't do it, because I want to listen to both perspectives, especially because I knew I'd probably be doing lives about it. I'll probably be doing like podcasts about it. I need to know, okay, what are you saying? What's your point? Where are you coming from? Right? This is what they're saying. This is where they're coming from. Right? This is what they're saying. This is what they're coming from. He's like, yeah, but she was in love with him though. So that makes all of this criminal activity okay. That makes him putting hands on her okay. That makes him literally holding the fact that he pays for her housing. He pays for her housing. He literally held that over her head, y'all, because she wouldn't have housing. She had this girl move into, like, she coerced him with the money, had this girl move into a house that he was paying for. $10,000 a month is the rent on that house. And this guy is sitting here talking about, well, she's the one that kept going back. I don't understand. So when I see, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I say I've come to the realization that unfortunately a matriarchy will not work. It's very unfortunate, but it's the truth. There's too many women out here that literally think like these males, so it just wouldn't work.
They have, but she's like, no, I don't want to do this. You tricked me. You lied to me. Had I known, I never would have. You lied to me. You're a liar. Even when he was forcing the pills down her throat, she was screaming, no, I don't want to. And by the way, for all this long cross-examining, the defense has still not push back on the notion that he forced her to take drugs and yet have a freak off. You really think a woman who is not being mentally abused and trafficked after they get beat into a pulp will cover up the bruises with makeup and then go and have a freak off?
Let me ask this. Why did they break up?
What do you mean?
That night, that happened June 18th, where she told over that story that we were the first 100 people to ever hear. No one knew this story as the whole beating that he did, right?
Well, we knew it from the opening arguments.
But we didn't know anything about the details as to what
Okay, fair enough.
And it's not like it was public fodder either. Supposedly, the prosecutors first heard about this in April, 2 months ago, right?
Okay.
He ended up leaving her because he said, I can't look at you because you're broken to me.
Yes,
right?
that is something.
This is a weird relationship.
It's not. It's
What is it? But I still like, you notice how he always avoids, this is like how the males behave in real life, right? They'll gaslight you to literal death, y'all. What does that have to do with what she just asked you? Right? Like she's asking you, how does that excuse DV? How does that excuse abuse? And we haven't, and I'm surprised, right, that they haven't touched base on, the government hasn't touched base on the fact that you cannot give consent when you're intoxicated. How's that possible? You can't give consent when you have like a million drugs in you. That doesn't make sense. And that's what she just mentioned. Like, I'm surprised that they haven't pushed harder on this point. You can't beat someone down to the ground. Then he told her, just cover it up with makeup because we're about to have a freak off or whatever. And so she had to cover it up with makeup or whatever. And he's like paying for her house and stuff. That's coercion. Underneath the law, you cannot use stuff like paying for people's bills, paying for, promising them a relationship, promising them this, promising them that just to get them to do sexual activities with you. That's coercion. But yet he's acting blind, like, oh no, I don't see no coercion here. Everything that she says, you see how he doesn't even have to make sense. He will just automatically refute. He doesn't even have to make sense as far as what he's saying. As long as it's in favor of a woman, he doesn't care. He doesn't agree with it. He's like, oh, well, they broke up. You're talking about a relationship. We're talking about a racketeering case. We're talking about coercion. We're talking about fraud. We're talking about illegal drugs. Why are you not talking about the fact that this same person also, in addition to all the people that testified to the fact that Diddy would travel sex workers across state lines? That's part of this racketeering case. Totally insane, y'all.
It's Romeo pimp thing. If you read on the Romeo pimp and the way they groom women, this is cut and favored. Even when they beat you up and they do things horrible and they all of a sudden, but what they do is, and most likely because they have a new victim, they tell you you're broken, you're dirty. Because you did this, I can never be with you again. But then what did he do? He still kept her on the stream. He was still communicating, and then he got back with her. They were still in a relationship.
Let me explain to you why he's guilty with Cassie.
April, notice, I will not let the lawyer talk. This is my channel. You can leave if you don't like it. This is my channel, April. You can leave, but thank you for your comment.
Let me explain to you what the difference is between her and Cassie. Okay, with Cassie, I can point to certain freak-offs she engaged in, which was right after he blackmails her. And
Terrell, you can leave too.
I'm just telling you what, as looking at the law, okay, he has to be forcing her. And if I'm going to be convicting, throwing him away in jail for doing things, I have to be looking at things that are criminal, way different than what a relationship you or I would ever be in. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. If we're going to be convicting someone for that, in that case, I want to be able to point to at least one day, one freak off that I'm like, she did that because I know without beyond a reasonable doubt that she was compelled to do that particular freak off. I could do that with Cassie. I can give you examples. When they fly back from Nice to France and he's showing the video of her on there, and then that night they go to a freak off. To me, she felt compelled. I can point to the beatings and the different and so many different times, the Intercontinental, where he's punching her in the face in the middle of a freak off. This tells me that this is a woman who, she tries to run away. Her boyfriend, Kid Cudi, ends up getting threatened, and she gets blackmailed that she's going to be exposed. This is a woman who I can point to different events and say, that's compulsion.
Okay.
We don't have anything like that.
Okay, can I say this?
We don't have anything on that
I do not.
No, that's how do we not have anything like that with this case? With this same lady that's testifying, she testified to the fact that, again, Diddy would travel sex workers across state lines. That's illegal, sir. You can't do that. Right? So for all of this stuff that he's saying, like, oh, I can point to this, I can point to that, you seem to really be focused on the fact that you view women as 304s and you just view her as a 304. So you're not remembering any of the other facts, any of the other things that this lady has testified to. Forcing someone to use drugs so then you can do sex work with them, that's illegal, sir. What are you talking about? Breakups? What are you talking about? That's 2 already. And they only need to prove 2 to prove their case. So this is what I'm saying. This is where the males are coming from. There's one more interview here.
You keep talking about sex trafficking as if there's only one component, by force. There is coercion and there's also fraud. Can you please explain to me what sex trafficking, but fraud is, if it wasn't what we heard here?
That's a great question. No, it's a great question. It's a great question.
Yeah, see, he doesn't even have the answer to the question. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you get yourself stuck in this, ladies, then, you know, because another thing that I've come to realize is you can't really help women. You kind of have to just leave them alone. If they want to be in that situation, then that's the situation they're going to be in until they're ready to help themselves, right? Because if another woman comes and tells you, a lot of times they just don't listen. You got to kind of just leave them alone, right? But this guy's like, well, I don't know what fraud means. It's just not this. It's just not this. So anything to not defend women, yet they go around throwing the propaganda around that they're protectors and providers. So you don't even know what the definition of fraud is, but yet you are bending over literally to protect one of your bros, saying it's not this, it's not this. How do you know it's not that when you don't even know what the definition is? This is the true nature of the male species. It's unfortunate, but it's just the truth.
What I would tell you, what I would think is fraud. You want to ask me just in the abstract, come up with a case?
No. What do you mean? Abstract, according to the law. What is he talking about? And he claims to be a lawyer. It's just misogyny. It's misogyny at heights that's unheard of. You see how the ones that even claim to be normal are just misogynists? Woman haters through and through.
According to the factors of the law.
If a puffy impersonator basically said, I'm Puffy, have sex with me, and have sex with those other people, that would be fraud. No.
I'm talking about under the Sex Trafficking Act. They actually have, what is it?
If a person pretended to be Dusty Diddy, that's fraud. Is he serious? Are these males for real? He's saying that that's fraud. If a person decides to pretend like he's Dusty Diddy, then that's fraud. No, sir. Underneath the law, we're talking about the law. We're not talking about what you just made up from thin air because you're obviously uneducated.
It is convincing them that they are in a romantic relationship. It is promising them anything. We can pull it up on ChatGPT. Pull it up. It's promising them anything of value.
I went to my legal research.
Pull it up on Cornell law. My point is, we have looked it up. The prosecutors didn't. Fraud is even promising a relationship or anything that the victim deems of value, such as a relationship, such as quality time, such as anything that is of value to the victim. You do not get to think what is of value, because then it gets into, well, I would never do it for this. Okay, fine. Right. But to you...
Let's take a look at this, y'all. Let me see. Let's take a look at this. The definition of fraud is right here. Y'all see this? This is the definition of fraud, and this is what the males, they're still protecting themselves. They're still protecting each other. The definition of fraud, not even from a legal perspective, this is the general definition of fraud, generally speaking. We're not even putting the legalities on there yet, right? The definition of fraud, just from the dictionary in and of itself, right, is wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. That's the definition of fraud. So any type of wrongful or criminal deception. So it's not, it's not just, I guess if someone pretends to be Dusty Diddy. No, sir. No, sir. If he's promising her, oh yeah, well, I'll keep paying your bills as long as, I'll give you a relationship. We'll be official as long as, I'll do this for you as long as, that's fraud. Because most of that stuff never even ended up happening. It's right here. The truth will be right in front. Like males, here's something that I feel like more women need to understand. Males do not care about truth. I'll say that again. Males do not care about truth. Okay. And if they don't care about truth, they can never care about you. Okay. There's no way that they will, because they don't care about truth. If they don't care about truth, they can never care about nature. There's no way that they could. Right. That's how they built the patriarchy. That's why this patriarchy looks the way that it looks. It's built on nothing but lies. Right? The definition is literally all you have to do is type it into Google. It's right here. But yet he's bending over, fighting so hard to save his bros, y'all. He's fighting tooth and nail to save his bros. Trying to say that, well, he would have to have known. Y'all, during this whole testimony, they showed at least over 5 text messages that this girl had sent to Diddy during the course of the relationship. Maybe even more than 5, but at least 5, where she exactly the words came out of her mouth saying, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do any freak offs. I don't want to sleep with other men. Literally, they showed it in court more than 5 times. So the male species actively blocks out anything that's in favor of women and children. They will block it out subconsciously. A lot of them, they don't even do it on purpose. It's just the way that they're made up. Anything that's in your favor, they will conveniently forget, conveniently not take it into account. And now we have the even bigger problem that most of that jury is made up of males, y'all. All I did was type this into Google and the definition of fraud came up. Totally insane. All right, let's see here. There was another one I wanted us to get to. I thought she was going to get to it relatively soon, but let's see.
Being in that relationship is not a value, but to her, it was everything. Again, I think people are forgetting the coercion and the fraud part about sex trafficking. And I believe, and listen, when he comes on my channel, we're going to hash it out too. Okay? Yes.
I'm going to do research for you.
Yes, he's going to do research. Yes.
On the fraud elements here.
And the coercion, but definitely the fraud.
The fraud and coercion.
Okay. Now,
black belt coercion. I think that's
well, definitely. But and he did. But let me just ask this really quick, right? Just to switch gears a little bit, because this is the original question I want to ask you. What's your opinion about the prosecution messing their case?
Well, they're supposed to.
Let's see. Let's hear this guy, because this is super funny right here.
Okay. Okay, Joe. Thank you so much. Okay.
Are we gonna listen?
Yes.
Tell me if you want me to do the homework, but then I'm gonna
listen. Do the homework. Listen.
If I'm gonna be doing the research on this, I'm gonna want to know that we're gonna.
Okay. Do the homework. We're gonna do it Saturday. I'm gonna text you tonight. Okay.
Not Saturday, but Sunday. It's gotta be. I don't work.
Okay. Listen. Let's do. Listen. I'll call you tonight. We'll get you in. We are going to have a thriller in Manila.
This is super funny, y'all.
If I'm going to be doing the research on this,
okay, do the homework. We're going to do it Saturday. I'm going to text you tonight, okay?
Not Saturday, but Sunday.
Okay.
It's gotta be, I don't work.
Okay, listen. Let's do. Listen, I'll call you tonight. We'll get you in. We are going to have a thriller in Manila. I will say this. Yeah, we'll have a thriller in Manila, okay? Okay, it's going to be good. Okay, no problem.
Take care.
Thank you. See you, Joe.
Okay, so let's start with.
Oh, this guy was awful, y'all. This is okay. This is a second male. Completely different from the male that we just listened to. So second male, BLK male. So I say, regardless of race, I say this all the time. The males are pretty much all the same. They just behave differently, but mentally they're all the same. This is part of the proof. This is what I'm saying. So you see, this is a completely different male. Let's listen to the mentality that this male has. Okay.
On YouTube, Good Law LAW Dick. Okay.
Oh, we're doing that on BBN Network.
Okay.
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Wait. Are you part of Manosphere? Do you hate women? Do you hate women?
I love that. She just was like, do you hate women? Or are you part of the manosphere? Period. Right? He looked like he's part of the manosphere.
Okay. All right. Come on, man. Come on.
Where you heard that from?
I'm just asking. You gotta ask. You listen. You have to ask these days. Sorry.
No. I don't hate women, but I do think people should be held accountable for their individual actions. Now, today on the stand, I have a problem with some of her testimony, and the problem.
Oh man, you see that? Today on the stand, I have a problem with some of her testimony. There's nothing that they won't have a problem about, ladies. There's nothing they won't have a problem about. Look at this degenerate looking homeless out here talking about I have a look. Okay. Let's just keep going.
I do think that she left some of the things out that she should have already added. And I think that her testimony actually helped Diddy and not the prosecution. Because what happened was she said a lot of things that she now has to, they had text messages where she was speaking about how much she loved doing these freak-offs.
Okay.
Now she's saying she doesn't. Now I agree that she probably never liked doing the freak-offs. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna 100% give it to you. She never liked doing no freak-offs. What kind of woman would want to do that? I 100% agree she was in love with this man, and he had a hold over her because sometimes somebody that's in love with you.
Oh my God, this guy is so like, what are you even talking about, sir? Go back to your manosphere, please.
Man or whether you're a woman can have a hold on you. So I 100% agree with that. I'm not trying to discount any of that at all. And I'm going to also add in there, just so we could be clear, that there was a power dynamic that made it so that she probably felt like when she got with this man, she had to stay with him because anything else would have been moving backwards. And I'm going to even double down on that by saying that the man that she was with before,
What did I say? What did I say before, y'all? The males always do this. It's their MO. So if you meet any males that seem to be nice, they're not. They're just liars. Okay. You see how he's piling up, trying to pile up the gaslighting because he doesn't want to look like the bad guy, even though he already started his comment with I don't really agree with this girl. I don't really believe her. I already disagree with a lot of things that she said. He already told us. But now he's trying to like gaslight us as if he didn't already tell us that he actually doesn't agree with her. This is what happens when you interact with the male species. They kind of murk up your life. You know what I'm saying? Like they make everything just confusing. They make everything dark. They make nothing makes sense. They make everything to where it doesn't make sense. This is the only world that the male species are capable of creating. Chaos, confusion, destruction. How can you come in? You already said you don't agree with her. Get to the point, sir. What is all this other stuff you're trying to do just so you don't make yourself look bad? It's totally insane.
That gave it a baby.
Wait. We don't know. We do not know. We do not know. We do not know. We don't know. Her baby's father is not a celebrity. She is a regular woman. So we can't take guesses. We can't take guesses.
I'll back up off of that. The point in which I'm trying to make is this. Women are hypergamous. They date up.
They what?
We what?
Women are hypergamous. Girl, what does that have to do with anything? So basically, he's basically just saying she's a gold digger. That's his point, is that she's a gold digger. Because when males say, oh, women are hypergamous, they date up. Like, what are you talking about? You have to translate that and ask yourself, okay, what is he trying to say? What is he trying to tell me? What is he saying, right? What he's saying, you have to like translate it from the male's perspective. So basically what he's saying is, well, women are gold diggers. So that's his whole argument, is that women are gold diggers, right? Because you're saying, oh, you agree with all these other things. You started off already by saying that you don't agree with her, and you only to end up with saying, oh, women are gold diggers. This guy, I don't know. This guy's uneducated.
Like, if you have a man who's doing really, really well, you're not going to leave him for somebody who isn't doing well. I'm not saying, this is just my opinion. I got my opinion. And this is not me saying that a woman is going to leave a guy who's not doing well for a dude that's doing well. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, even me being a man, I'm not going to stop dating someone or break off a relationship that I have with someone that I'm benefiting from in many different areas. Probably not just financially, but in many different areas, I'm benefiting. I'm not going to break off that relationship with them that I'm benefiting from to get into a relationship where now I don't benefit at all. Women are generally
okay. Hold on.
So I just don't
there.
understand.
Quick thing. I just have two questions.
So basically, yeah, he's saying she's a gold digger. So basically, the way males view women within this patriarchy is they don't want you to benefit at all. And so if males feel like you are benefiting in any way, right, then they'll start, that's when the degrading starts. That's when the name calling starts. Oh, she's a gold digger. She stayed there for his money. That's basically what he's saying. That's what he's saying, right? That's why he doesn't agree with her, because he already told us he doesn't agree with her at the beginning. So now he's coming to the point of telling us why he doesn't agree with her, because he says, he's basically saying, well, she's a gold digger. She stayed for the money. Women are, and he didn't even say her. Notice his language. You have to notice their language. He said women are. Women like to date up. Women are hypergamous, right? So basically the way he views women is women are gold diggers, and they, so what are the males telling you? What are the males saying? If you benefit at all, if you are benefiting at all as a woman, okay, you're garbage. That's basically what they're telling you, right? That's when the name calling starts. If you're doing anything to improve your life, that's why as a woman, you can't be educated and just be yourself. You can't have your own things or your own assets, call yourself independent. You can't do what you want to do and just be yourself out in the real world without the degenerate male species harassing you and calling you names. Because they want to see women suffer. I don't know what it is about that. I think the males are just so like, the way I describe it is males are very empty, right? So they want to see you suffer, right? They want to see that you are suffering, probably because they feel like you have it better than them. There's a lot of jealousy there. So he's saying, well, I don't agree with her. She sucks. Nothing should happen to my bro, right? Because she's a gold digger. She's a gold digger. Women are gold diggers. And this is what over 60% of the jury is, males. So we'll see how this turns out. Right? They're not looking at what this guy is actually being charged with: racketeering, which involves coercion, involves fraud, drugging people, flying sex workers across state lines. They're not looking at anything that the case actually involves, because they can't. Their hate for women literally overpowers any rhyme, reason, or logic. This is why I say this all the time. Don't live with a male. Have your own stuff. Do not live with a male. The best you can do with the male species is put them on a roster and have him pay for stuff. That's the best you can do with one of these species, because they've hit a plateau. They can't evolve any further. If they could evolve any further, they would have done it by now, because it's been decades and even centuries of abusing women. They've had so much time to evolve and yet unable to do so. Imagine we're talking about all of these other severe things, yet he can't just say, oh yeah, he's totally guilty, the guy is done for, right? He's stuck on the hate he has towards women, and he can't move past that. Talking about, well, I don't agree with her because she's hypergamous and women date up, and she's staying, because she wants all the money and stuff like that. Sir, what does that have to do with this case? So you want your bro to go free because he's your bro, basically, right? So there's no amount of evil. The male's evil, in my opinion, this case is showing me that the male's capacity for evil knows no bounds. There's literally no limitation to it. There's no limitation to it. And one of the biggest problems is over 90% of them are this way. This is what they're like. right? It's not like women where at least you get a mixture. You know, you get a mix of at least you get a little bit of a mix of everything, right? The males, like I say all the time, they operate as a collective. So most of them, over 90% of them, this is how they think. Even the ones that, you know, want to convince you beyond with all their useless words that they don't back up with action, that they're one of the good ones. They're one of the good ones, yet they're not able to keep their counterparts in check. Yet they expect us to believe that they are actually one of the good ones. Get the heck out of our faces, literally. Right. So this is the thing. This is what they sound like. I think this is coming to an end.
We're gonna get it out of here.
Yeah.
You say that she was down with it, right?
No.
Well, she didn't like it, but she still went along with it.
No. I'm saying that the text messages.
But those text messages, we are mostly from 2022. What about all the text messages where she was saying from 2022 on, I don't want this, I don't like this, stop doing this. I mean, again, just because you sleep with somebody the first 50 times, the 51st time is like, I'm not sleeping with you, and that's all there is to it.
So, just so you could understand my perspective of this, I don't think any man in his right mind would want to have another man sleep with his woman. That sounds like insanity.
What is he
I just need to
talking
say
about?
that because I think that you're misrepresenting or you're just misunderstanding.
It's not, even if there was another woman in the room. I'm saying that.
I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I don't believe in any type of more than one person, more than two people having sex at a time. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. So I don't
What is he talking about?
Okay, listen. How about this? How about this? How
So
about
I
that?
don't agree with the thing. The thing that you're thinking I'm agreeing with.
No, I don't think that's what you're
Oh my
agreeing with. It has
God.
nothing to
They
do
just
with
get
another
so
person being in the
defensive
room.
and illogical, so emotional, so defensive, so illogical. He's like, I'm not agreeing with that. I don't like, why would any man want? Okay, but that's what he was doing. That's literally what Diddy was doing. He was having the women that he claimed to care about, he was having them sleep with other males. So what do you mean you don't think any man would like that? Meanwhile, that's what your bro was doing. And you're trying to support your bro saying that you don't think any man would like that. So are you trying to blame her? Like, I'm not understanding what you're trying to say. The males are so emotional and illogical, y'all.
I think that especially as a woman, I can sleep with you 50 times. I could be in the middle of sleeping with you and still say, that's enough. We done. So my thing is, it's like they're bringing up testimony, but they haven't gotten into 2023 or even 2024.
Okay,
So to say it when she was whatever, but I do want to ask you this, right? Really quick, because I'm asking all the men. Really quick. What is sex trafficking by fraud?
Well, I'll go into what happens in divorce court for 2 seconds.
What?
So when you're because I'm going to just reference something that's legal.
Okay.
So basically, what you were saying to the other gentleman, Joe, was correct. You can't offer somebody something of value, something that they deem of value, in order for a relationship, and then you not give it to them. That is fraud. So you can't say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to give you all of this, I'm going to give you all of that. And you're in a relationship, and then you don't deliver on these things. That can be seen as fraud.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Nobody should be doing that to anyone.
Okay.
Just so we can be clear. So I don't think that she was complicit as far as these are things that she wanted to do.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that there was some period of time where she got a little bit clear-headed, and I can literally tell you when it was, where she could have then made a decision to do something different, and she didn't.
Okay. Well, listen.
Oh my God, y'all.
To
Yeah, agree to disagree because these males are brainless. First of all, what does that have to do with divorce court? Like, where did he get that from? Because he didn't tie those two ideas together at all. He was like, I'm gonna go to divorce court and say, huh? And I think as soon as she was like, wait, what? That's when he started trying to redirect, y'all. He started trying to redirect. And then he's like, well, there were moments in time she was clear-headed. Okay. So you want us to ignore all the other moments where the guy was committing criminal acts against her and every other human being in his vicinity because of the moments in time that you believe when she was clear-headed? Y'all, the males don't have a brain. Like, I try to be nice to them. I try. But it's like, how can you be so brainless? How is it possible? Like, what are you talking about? The selfishness gets a hold of them. You know, they just can't help themselves. Selfish through and through. All right, let's take a look at like maybe one more here. And we'll use this to start wrapping up as we take a look at this one right here, because this is crazy as well. Let's see here. I always forget I gotta like click it on here too so that y'all can hear. And I'm gonna make this a little bit faster.
I'm Eva Pilgrim. Thanks for streaming with us. Week 5 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, kicking off with the hip-hop mogul's ex-girlfriend, Jane, back on the stand. She began tearing up, crying into a microphone at one point after testifying about a text she sent Combs after he allegedly requested a so-called hotel night. Jane replying, "I'm not a porn star. I'm not an animal. I need a break." Jane also describing for the jury what she saw as love bombing, something she said he would do when he wanted to watch her have sex with other men. Jane also telling the jury she almost fainted when she learned about Cassie Ventura's lawsuit against Combs, testifying it was like reading her own story. She testified she was with Combs the day that hotel surveillance video showing Combs attacking Cassie back in 2016 became public. Combs has pleaded not guilty to all allegations in the case. There's a lot to get to from court. Plus, the new evidence released, voice memos from Combs to Jane, played for the jury. You can hear them for yourself coming up. And a toxicologist breaks down all the drugs we've been hearing about during this trial. How can that affect a person's body? But first, let's get right to the federal courthouse. Aaron Kontursky, our chief investigative correspondent, has been in court all day. Aaron, bring us up to speed. What did Jane say on the witness stand today?
Oh, she said a lot, Eva, and there were these long sequences of anguished text messages telling Sean Combs how she no longer wanted to perform in these so-called hotel nights with male prostitutes, and in what she described as dismissive nature of Combs' response. But there were a couple of notable things. One, I think you hit on. Jane says she was there at Combs' Miami home in May 2024 when the Cassie video first aired on CNN, and she said Combs even showed her a draft of the statement that he was going to post to Instagram apologizing for it. And the jury heard her say that she didn't think he was being genuine. When she later heard and saw that Instagram post, the defense objected. The judge instructed the jury to disregard that testimony. The other interesting thing, Eva, that Jane said on the witness stand is that Sean Combs is still not only just paying her rent, but also paying her legal bills. And his defense attorneys were the ones to whom she first disclosed that Sean Combs got violent with her in June 2024.
Okay, Cassie Ventura Combs' was not in court today, but her civil suit against Diddy came up today. Why was that?
Jane said she nearly fainted, or she said, in fact, maybe I did faint, because it was like reading her own story, as she put it, her own sexual trauma. And she said she confronted Sean Combs about it, and he told her that that was the only time in his relationship with Cassie Ventura where there had been violence. Now, the jury has certainly heard differently, but then there's Jane at Sean Combs' house when the video comes out. And she says that Combs gives her the statement to read. She thought it was apologetic, appropriately so, but when she finally heard it.
So this girl like literally helped Diddy craft his response that he was going to say to the public when that video of him beating up Cassie came out, right? She actually helped him craft the response. This is what happens when you're male-centered within a patriarchy. You lose your mind completely. You literally turn into a psycho. She literally was there when that video came out and then helped this guy craft his response, because she's tied to this guy, has no independence. He's paying for the house that she lives in, right? She would literally probably be homeless or have to downgrade. Maybe she doesn't want to downgrade, right? And yet you'll have males within the same patriarchy start harassing women, abusing women for calling themselves independent, for wanting to work, for wanting their own things, but want you to deal with them instead when they behave just like Diddy. The males behave just like Diddy, except without the money. That's why I say don't get yourself stuck in a marriage contract, thinking that you're protected or you're going to be protected if he starts putting hands on you or start doing stuff to you, because you're not going to be. Police is an illusion. I made several videos on police being an illusion way back when, right? Several videos on that. Oh my God. We have another homo that joined the chat just now. Dickie, I'm not surprised that that's your name. I'm not surprised that your name is Dickie. Piss off, right? So I made several videos. On the fact that police is an illusion, y'all. Okay. So the thing is, you as a woman, when you get in a relationship with a male, if you think that you're going to be protected, you're not. The male species are complete degenerates. Okay. They suck, right? You don't want to put your whole existence and center your life around the male species, because all of them, I'm telling you, over 90% of them act just like Diddy. They might not be as severe on the scale because they don't have as much resources and as much money, but they are abusive. They will leave you with nothing, right? And they'll start insulting you if you try to get something. Calling you names, calling you a gold digger, saying all these things about you, you know? So you can't trust a male. That's why I always say, y'all, don't get yourself stuck in a marriage contract. Do not attach yourself to a male species. They cannot be trusted. You know?
Didn't think that it was enough.
And after that hotel video became public and Combs pledged to become a better man, what did Jane say happened?
That's when she said that Sean Combs got violent with her in June 2024. She was frank with the jury. She started it. She was getting upset. She was sort of pent up with all this resentment and anger at being forced into these hotel nights, she said. And she and Combs were kind of going at it a little bit. He bent over to tie his shoe, and she said she smacked his head into the counter and took off. He followed, kicked down several doors. The jury saw photos of the damaged doors that she later sent to a repairman. And that's when eventually she ran outside. She says Combs picked her up by the neck and dragged her back into the house, dragged her by the arm.
He picked her up by the neck and dragged her back into the house, y'all. It's crazy what the males will do. But how much do you want to bet how similar this story is to so many women that are trapped in these marriage contracts? Getting beat down behind closed doors, thinking that other women will be looking at what they have, wanting what they have, when that's just not the case, because you're trapped there. This is the truth about what males really are. This is who they are. No empathy, no logic, no reason, super emotional. They literally bring nothing to the table. Nothing but violence and suffering and destruction. You know? Dickie, what, how did you even find this channel? Like, why are you here? Dickie says, all grown women that had a choice. I don't feel sorry for not one of them, I guess is what you mean. They all had their own place. No one stayed with him. How is that yours? Okay, I need you to learn how to spell, because this is so hard for me to understand what you're trying to say. Dickie, that does not excuse abusive males. That doesn't excuse abusive males. Saying that, oh, the women had a choice and this and that. Meanwhile, most males are abusive. Most of you put hands on women. That's why the birth rate is collapsing, because more and more women cannot stand to be around you. Just because you lie to women, you tell them that you're going to give them all these things so the woman stays because you keep lying to her, right? Does not excuse you and make it okay for you to start putting your hands on women, for you to start abusing women, right? It doesn't make sense. Yes, the women might have had, actually, I don't even agree with you on that point. I don't agree with you. The women had a choice. How can you have a choice when you're literally being drugged every other day or every day? You can't have a choice. You can't say the person has a choice when you, A, introduce them to drugs. You introduce them to the drugs, right? And B, you're drugging them just about every day or every other day. A person that's intoxicated just about every day or every other day can't have a choice, right? You can't say that they have a choice when you're holding the place where they live over their heads, right? You're the one that pays the rent and telling them, well, if you want to be homeless, then just go be homeless. That's not a choice. I'm gay. I don't like women. I'm sure that you're gay, sir. Most males are gay. Over 90% of males are gay. We know that. I'm sure you are. You sound gay. Literally.
by the hair. And it's this kind of repetitive behavior, because the jury has previously heard about dragging from Cassie Ventura, that the prosecutors say proves the kind of racketeering offenses that Combs is charged with, that he's pleaded not guilty to. But generally, this is also, prosecutors say, evidence of sex trafficking by coercion, because it speaks to Jane's state of mind. She knew that Combs could be violent. She agreed to yet more hotel nights, perhaps under duress.
The jurors also had a chance to hear a voice recording on Friday that Sean Combs allegedly sent to Jane. What did he say in that recording?
Yeah, Dickie, that's your opinion because you're gay. You're a homo, sir. Like, no one cares. I don't know why you gay males keep trying to talk to women. Why do you keep trying to talk to us? You're not a woman. You're gay. You literally have nothing to do with women, because we don't care what you have to say, especially because you're gay. It's always the gay males. That's why I say, y'all, if a male is putting hands on a woman, if he's putting hands on you, he's gay. That's where they all reside. They're all abusive. They're all abusive. They all support abusive, degenerate behavior. Most of their community, that's what they support. Most of the males in there, that's what they support, abusive, degenerate behaviors. That's why most of them support DL bros. They support that behavior. Meanwhile, being bent over by another male. You're being bent over by another male, but yet you think women are going to sit there and respect you? You're not respected. You can't. Why? I don't know why you stay here in the women's space. You cannot be respected when you're being bent over by other males, sir. Go back to where you came from. Okay, so this is the thing that's bewildering to me. This is why you see more and more women withdrawing support from this community, from the gay males community. You see more and more women withdrawing support because the gay males are they're actually even more dangerous than straight males are. Gay males are actually more dangerous than straight males are. And most of these males are gay. So you got to stay away from them, and you got to get really, really picky about who you're choosing. If you're choosing a male species, because most of them are gay, they're weak, they're pathetic, they support degenerate behavior. They'll sit there and see people getting abused. Oh, well, she had a choice because they're jealous. They're jealous of you. They're jealous that you were able to get all that money just because you're a woman. They're jealous that you're able to do all these things just because you're a woman. That's how they view it. They're jealous that they're males, okay? And they only have one point of entry. And the only point of entry that they have is the same point from where Dookie comes out of. Literally, let's process through that. Right. So I'm not surprised. This is proof right here. I say this all the time, y'all. Most of these males, over 90% of males, are gay. Stay away from the male species. Do not procreate with gay males. It is anti-nature. They're not supposed to be procreating. If they were supposed to be procreating, they would be able to do it by themselves without involving women. Right. And it's just a shame that, but this is the way that it is. It's come to find out the most dangerous types of males are in fact gay, because there's a lot of jealousy there. There's a lot of envy.
This is all part of Sean Combs' responses to various text messages where Jane is almost pleading with him to let her stop having sex with all of these male escorts. At one point, she's telling him that she's tired, she needs a break, she's not a porn star, she's not an animal, she's sore. And the jury heard Combs' response, which Jane says she took as a threat. Have a listen.
Girl, I done sent you flowers already. Anybody talk about past? That's what I'm talking about. You don't know how to just move on. How does somebody like have a relationship with you even as a friend and you don't know how to move on? You can, like, it just goes crazy. Just stop. I'm saying, let's move on. And my tone is like this. I'm just waking up.
One of the reasons Jane said she took that as a threat is because he's talking about moving on, ending their relationship. Every time Jane said she would bring up to Sean Combs her reluctance to perform with male prostitutes, she said hovering over the conversation would be the fact that he's paying a $10,000 monthly rent check.
And Aaron, what was Combs' response listening to all of this in court today?
You know, his demeanor was a bit interesting today. He's listening carefully to all of this, especially some of the more recent messages, because more voice notes were played in court today. His voice kind of echoes through the courtroom, which is otherwise silent. But he was sitting back from the defense table.
So he was sitting there just gaslighting her. Girl. And that's the thing, is I don't understand why these gay males just won't keep it to themselves within their own community. They would be so much better off and more well respected if they would just keep it to themselves. One of the things that I've been processing through and thinking about is, why do these gay males just not keep it to themselves? I don't understand. Why do you have to try to invade the space of straight people? Like, I just don't get it. You know, why are you DL? Just be in your own community, sir. Just be in your own community. Don't try to come here, be on the DL, lying to women. You know, what's the purpose of that? Just stay over there, and then you wouldn't have any problems. You literally wouldn't have any problems if you just stayed within your own community. Why try to drag women into it, lying to women about what you are, lying to the public about what you are, knowing good and well that you gay? What's the point of that? The only thing that comes to mind is like, okay, it's demonic behavior, because it's easy enough, it's simple enough to mind your own business and be within your own community without dragging women and children into it. That's not hard. That's not a tall order. But because you want to participate, you are literally a demon. You want to participate in demonic behavior, right? You insist on dragging unsuspecting victims into your nonsense, into your traumas, into your whatever it is that you feel like you're suffering through. Now you want to drag the women through it out of jealousy. Insane.
His legs stretched out, his arms kind of crossed like this, and we're not sure what the posture means, but it was a notable difference from the leaning forward at the table and listening intently to the speaker.
Aaron Katursky for us there at the courthouse. Aaron, thank you so much. Let's break down what we saw in court today. Joining me now, ABC News legal contributor and defense attorney Brian Buckmeyer. Brian, Jane back on the stand. What stood out to you today?
I mean, Aaron highlighted most of it, right? The fact that Sean Combs is still paying the $10,000, paying for it.
This guy sucks, bro. Like this guy that's talking right now, complete degenerate, yo.
Her legal fund. The violence that we heard that she alleged that Sean Combs did, in that what we might describe as mutual combat between the two of them, and also just how we started to hear evidence of close in time to Cassie's lawsuit, the close in time to the raid, and also him getting arrested, and how we're getting an inside view as to what Sean Combs was doing, how he reacted through Jane herself.
Let's talk about that lawsuit, Cassie Ventura's 2023 lawsuit against Combs. Why did this come up?
It came up because Jane described the moments in which she heard about the lawsuit, when she actually read the lawsuit herself as well. And she talked about taking a photo, or at least a screenshot, of 3 of the pages. Now, we don't know what all 3 of them were. I think she said was the first page, but she said she was reading her own trauma. She started to see the dots connecting as to what she went through and what Cassie went through beforehand, and she started talking in the sense of he knew he was doing was wrong. He understood these freak-offs, these debauchery these hotel nights were horrible, and the way he would love bomb and persuade women because she said what happened to her, she believed also happened to Cassie.
The jury also got to hear a series of phone calls between Combs.
Yeah. So as we start to wrap up here, you know, I think that's one of the main things to take away as far as the updates in this case, y'all. So one of the main updates for this case is, look, I believe that the government has proven their case literally like 2 weeks ago. I mean, that's done. As far as like the actual core of the case, the racketeering, the coercion, they've proven that case. They've put text messages, they put paperwork out. Everyone in the court that's there in the court was able to see all of the proof presented, right? But where we are now is that most of the jury, at least 60 to 70% of the jury, is made up of males. And we've seen how these males think. So that leads me to believe that the bros that are a part of the jury, I would not be surprised if they let their bro off the hook. Right? Just hearing how the males don't even care about truth or reality, or even looking up the definition to these terms that are being used because that's what the guy is literally on trial for, tells us something deeper about what we're dealing with when it comes to the male species. That's why I say, if you're going to have a kid, make sure it's a girl. Don't know why you want to bring her here, but make sure it's a girl, because if you think about it, it's women that keep birthing these demons and bringing them here. They come through women. They cannot get here if not through a woman. Good news, the birth rates are plummeting and they're declining. Very, very good, fantastic news. But these males, we just can't keep bringing them here. This is just too much, y'all. This is just too much. And so we're going to wait. We're going to see how this trial turns out. We'll keep talking about updates and stuff. It might be just a part of the future lives as we cover other things, because I'm wanting to cover some other like things that have been coming up that y'all might not even know about. You probably don't even know about because it's like global in a sense, right? That we have to touch base on. More and more women coming out, speaking up, right? And then we'll probably do a Liz part 2. So we might do a live tomorrow. If not, probably on Friday, because I'm trying to like catch up with the topics so I can make the video and have the video out and made, right? So that's where we are with this case currently. That's the most concerning aspect is across the board. This is a done deal. Today they asked the government how much more time that they would need. The government said, we don't really need that much time. We'll probably be done by Wednesday of next week, right? They're like, yeah, we don't really need that much time because they are, I think it's because they're just that confident that they've proven their case. And I agree. I feel like they proved their case. If we're talking logically speaking, if we're talking based on facts and just based on the law, they proved that case at least 2 weeks ago. At least 2 weeks ago. So let's take a look at one of the last things here because it's a part of what we're going to look at, right? So it turns out that Diddy was writing love letters to Cassie even after Cassie had moved on into another relationship, into the relationship that she's in now. So this says, the defense also focused on Diddy's past relationship with Cassie Ventura, whom Jane said he called one of his greatest loves. So he called Cassie Ventura one of his greatest loves, y'all. That's why I'm saying, like, if a male says he loves you, it literally doesn't mean jack squat. It's like you should probably be scared because you don't know what that means to that male. You don't know what he's saying that for or what it means, right? How do you say this name? Garagos introduced, hopefully, I don't know, I probably mispronounced that, but Garagos introduced letters Diddy had written to Ventura. Oh, they showed it in the court. I didn't realize that they had showed the letters that Diddy had written. Y'all, you know how he was insulting Cassie, calling her 304, calling her all these names, and now they're showing love letters that he was writing to her? What in the world? What in the manipulation is going on here, right? Letters Diddy had written to Ventura some while under the influence. So he was under the influence when he wrote this. When he couldn't control his, emotions, to suggest a capacity for deep emotional connection. Oh, so Diddy's lawyers introduced the letters in court because they're trying to humanize him by saying, look, he's capable of feeling deeply. He's capable of having feelings. Look at these letters that he wrote while under the influence to Cassie, right? Jane acknowledged the letters, but noted that Diddy often expressed affection after outbursts. Oh, okay. So the abuse cycle. Jane acknowledged the letters, but noted that Diddy often expressed affection after outbursts or controlling behavior. So he often, oh my gosh, we're going to look at this. Let's look at this, y'all. Hold on, let's look at this. This is important because this is insane. It's literally exactly what we're seeing right here. This exactly, look at this, y'all. Let's see. All right. How do I get to this? Okay. Stop sharing. Okay, share. Okay. So this is what they're describing as happening. It's the cycle of ACCROSS. Honeymoon phase, tension builds, explosion. So after the explosion, he goes through the denial and then tries to go back to the honeymoon phase, where he's writing all these letters while intoxicated to Cassie, intoxicated on drugs or whatever he was using, allegedly, right? So literally playing out the cycle right in front of us. That's literally what we're seeing in play. The explosion, right? Then he gets on illegal substances, allegedly, to help alleviate with this denial piece. A lot of the denial is often experienced by the victim herself, right? Then trying to push back into the honeymoon phase, aka all these letters and nonsense that he was writing. Insane, y'all. All right, so this goes on to say, Jane acknowledged the letters, but noted that Diddy often expressed affection after outbursts or controlling behavior. She testified that she would sometimes propose freak-offs to ease the tension or appease his insecurities. Gay males are very insecure. They don't have a choice. I mean, they're very insecure. I don't know. It's because of that they put hands on you. So you got to be careful. The males that put the hands on you are very insecure. And most of the time they're going to be gay too. And you just don't know it. A separate incident involving a male named Sly Williams was also examined. Oh my gosh. So a separate incident in court today, a separate incident involving a male named Sly Williams was also examined. Jane testified that Williams, who had participated in one of the encounters, so one of the freak-offs, Jane testified that Williams, who had participated in one of the encounters, later threatened to leak a private video. She said that Diddy urged her to report the extortion, but she refused out of fear. Okay. So later on, one of the, I guess, sex workers that they had done stuff with had caught everything that they did on tape and came back and threatened her with releasing that tape. Okay. And so she went and told Diddy, like, hey, one of the, sex workers just threatened to release a tape of us. I guess he was filming one of the nights that we were doing these things, and now he's threatening to release that tape. So she went and ran to Dusty Diddy and told Dusty Diddy, like, oh my gosh, I'm being, he's threatening to release the tape, so whatever, right? While the defense cited this as an example of Diddy's concern, Jane described it as a part of a broader pattern of control, financial, emotional, and sexual. So what happened there is the defense, so Diddy's team was trying to say, look, when Jane came to us crying and freaking out because this guy had threatened to release the tapes, Diddy made moves. He took steps to try to help her feel better. He got her a lawyer. He made sure that tape disappeared. And so obviously he cares. That's what Diddy's team is proposing, right? Meanwhile, the person that's testifying said, no, it was he just used it as a form of control, as a form of financial, emotional, and sexual control. So he held it against her, basically. So y'all, this is the latest with the case. This is where we are. So we'll see what happens tomorrow with this case. We'll keep our pulse on it. I wanted to make a video, dedicated to it. The future videos will probably be a part of it, but we're going to cover, maybe one or two other things in there as well. But this is where we are, especially when combined, when we start looking at this case as a micro, just like a micro part of the patriarchy itself, you know. So as we summarize with this, we start looking at the patriarchy as a micro part of we start looking at this case as a micro part of the patriarchy itself, right? So what does that mean? Well, when we look at this case, we're seeing in real time how males really think. We're seeing in real time how males really behave. We're seeing proof, you know, proof after proof after proof that, look, most of these males are gay. So of course they're going to be jealous of you because they perceive women as having an easy time, right? Women can just easily get whatever they want because they're women or whatever, right? So we see like even the males that have money do the same exact thing that the males that don't have any money do. So that's why I've always said the only one exception that I can think of is just using the male for his money, because there's nothing else that male could potentially do for you, right? Because they all do the same thing. They'll all cheat on you. They'll all assuse you. They all do the same thing, not even caring that they bring nothing to the table, that they have, even the ones with no money will do the same thing, right? And most of the time, you'll end up finding out that the male is probably gay, y'all. I hate to say it, it's just the truth. No one was thinking that Diddy was homo, but here we are. He's homo. Meanwhile, none of his bros, none of his counterparts will talk about the fact that, look, your bro is a complete homosexual. He was literally using the women as beards, trying to live vicariously through the women. You're not talking about that. You're not talking about the fact that males are the original 304s. You're not talking about the fact that this guy was sleeping with anything and everything walking. Disgusting, degenerate behavior. You're focused on calling the women names and harassing women because you feel like they have an easier life than you, or whatever it is that you're whining about, you know. So this is the construct of the patriarchy taking place right in front of us. And we even see the role that women play within that patriarchy as well. All in this case, right in front of us, like watching a show, y'all. It's insane. All in this case, we see the patriarchy live in color, performing. Even the women, the role the women play, all the jealous women talking about Cassie, talking about this, talking about that. We see their role, the role that they play in it. We see the bros and how they move. That, look, they've been lying to you. If you continue to try to lie to yourself that the males are protectors, you're going to find yourself in a difficult situation. Okay, because if males were truly protectors, they would want you to be whatever it is that you want to be. They would want you to be happy. They wouldn't be putting hands on you. They wouldn't be putting hands on those that they perceive as physically weaker than them. That's what protectors do. They actually protect. Okay, protectors don't go around putting hands on people that they perceive as physically weaker than them. That's not the definition of protecting. If you're not protecting the weak, then what is the point? What is your purpose in even being here? You have no purpose. Were you going to sit here protecting strong people, people that already have the mentality, people that don't really need that much of your protection, while the weak are sitting there looking weak, and then you have the audacity to call yourself a protector? That doesn't make any sense. So this is where we're at. The patriarchy continuing to crumble, because there is crumbling. And when I say crumbling, I mean it is shattering, right? What's going to be left? What is going to be left of this patriarchy? The patriarchy is going to still be left. It's going to be the patriarchy, but it's going to be a very diluted form of the patriarchy. That's what I think is going to be left. Because I don't know. Y'all can let me know what you think on this, but I'm not convinced that a matriarchy is possible. I cannot see it. There's too much hate that comes from women specifically. There's just too much. Imagine harassing Cassie just because this woman looks the way. I don't know where, I mean, that's one of the best looking women I've ever seen in my life. So the jealousy there from women is insane. The women are so jealous. It's wild, right? So I don't know that, I know a lot of women want, oh, we need a matriarchy. It's not gonna work. There's too many hateful women here. So what's going to be left because the patriarchy continues to get more and more eradicated? Well, what's going to be left is a severely diluted form of the patriarchy. That's literally it. It's going to be even more of an individualistic culture that we live in, even more individualistic. And then, each woman is going to have to choose. What do you want to do? You want to chill with the bros? Because you're not going to chill over here. The women are just going to insult you. Like those videos on Tisa Tells, that interview that we watched, where Tisa was talking to those males. Okay. Those males, y'all, I didn't say this they were getting demolished in the comments section. We should have looked at that. That would have been super fun to look at. Those males were getting massacred in the comments section. It was alive. The women were like, boo, go away, you suck, you're from the manosphere, stupid person, stupid male, go away, male. He was getting demolished in the comments section. And that's going to be you. If you are a pygmy, you will get demolished from every angle because you're not going to make any sense. You're going to sound like a male. And the women are going to get confused and start thinking you're a male because of how you sound and how you think. We're going to get confused and start thinking, oh, she must be a male. And then you're going to be addressed as such, a male. Right? So this is where I think we're going. Y'all, let me know what you think. I think it's so many changes, especially with AI. More of these males are going to be homeless, y'all. More of these males are going to be jobless, y'all. I saw a comment on Instagram that sent shivers through my spine. Like my literal spine. Y'all already know I get very easily irked, like, creepy. I get easily creeped out. That's a good way of putting it, right? So I saw this comment on Instagram and she said it was from a woman that said something like, what did she say? She said something like, be careful, ladies. The males are coming back out. Or the males are the males are starting to get back out of the house or something like that. Y'all, I left a comment, the way the shivers ran down my spine. She said something like males are starting to come back out from being in the house, basically. The fear and the just like, ew, that ran through my spine, y'all. Oh, y'all, like seriously, I left a comment like, why did that just send shivers down my spine? Like, who's coming out? Like the males? Can you imagine a bunch of degenerate males, even more than there are today, just walking around the streets? Oh, what? Just walking around, like just existing in this. I don't know. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. But as it stands today, is the patriarchy collapsing? Yes, it is. Because it was built on lies to begin with. You kept lying and lying and lying, brainwashing women, and you don't even have what it takes to do the work to create a world that makes sense. It would be one thing if you're lying, but at the same time, you actually have skill sets that can be used to create a world that makes sense. That would be one thing. It's another thing when you're lying, and you yourself don't even have the needed skill sets to back up these lies. What did you think was going to happen? What did you think? What did you think was going to happen when you build a patriarchy that relies on children continuing to be birthed over and over and over and over and over again? You need more and more and more and more children for your patriarchy to continue. What do you think was going to happen? Right. So, and you don't even have control over your own future because you can't birth kids. So the woman has to do that for you. So you can't even control your own future. You can't even control your own life. You can't even control your own patriarchy. Why? Because you need the woman to do it in the first place. There was no other place no other direction that this was going to go. Anyways, y'all, check out the community section, community posts. You know, I always post updates on there, right? We'll try to go live tomorrow because, yeah, my intent was to like be on video, A, B, also, you know, kind of get ready for my live because I try to have fun with that, and I do have fun with it. So I was thinking, okay, like I have like hair and I don't have outfit yet. I'll figure out the outfit tomorrow. So my intent was to do all that, but then I got lazy. So we'll do that probably tomorrow. But I also wanted to test this format out as well. Pretty good format. I think it worked out fine. So we'll maybe do that tomorrow or Friday. So keep track of the community section. Check out the Patreon and the YT membership section to support the channel as well. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are, especially in connection to the patriarchy. I'm going to process through this a little bit more to see, because I haven't really had enough time to fully process through today's events of this case. Usually I like a little bit more time to think through it. So we'll see what ends up coming up for me as I continue to process through this whole thing. But I think ultimately it's insane. It's super crazy what we're seeing, you know, and we're seeing the gender divide grow more and more. It just continues to grow, y'all. It just continues to grow more and more. And I, for one, am glad because the males, you know, I feel like, look, the males are just too degenerate to keep bringing here. You know, if you keep bringing males here, I don't know what to tell you. But it's just too much. I mean, the destruction they bring is astronomical. And every woman walks around thinking that their male kid is going to be the exception. No, ma'am, he's not. Over 90% of males are this way. So your male is most likely not going to be the exception. Most likely not. Right? That's, you know, that's something to keep in mind. That's something to understand. Anyways, that's the summary. Leave it in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Okay. I'll leave it in the community section if we're going live tomorrow and Friday, or tomorrow and or Friday. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye. We'll try to go live earlier too, because when I do it later, I'm kind of like, it's later. But also I time it with the Diddy case. And the Diddy case is usually not over until like 4 or 5 p.m. So it leaves me going live a little bit later. So we'll see what we can do in that area. But I think the case is going to be over in like 2 weeks anyway. So we'll just work with it until then, y'all. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.